Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge, and welcome to Keeping Relevant. For the last 23 years, Liz Krueger has represented the 28th State Senate District from Manhattan's East Side. And for the last 6 years, as one of the state's most powerful leaders, she's the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. Actually, though, she spent her entire adult life serving the public good and is a nationally recognized expert on the problems of hunger and homelessness, as well as a relentless advocate for good government reforms. And she's my guest today. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You work so hard in your district as well as in Albany. It's fascinating. Just the other day, I was invited to the 4th roundtable discussion on adult health services or something. And it's a constant thing. Does it get reflected in the percentage of eligible voters that can vote in your district?
I think it does. I have a very high voter turnout in my district. I think the west side is a little higher statistically.
Always.
But what I love about my district is it's a very well-educated district, which means people challenge you. They don't just want to see pictures of you being at ribbon cuttings, which is good because I don't really want to spend my life at ribbon cuttings. So they want to have substantive conversation. They want you to answer their questions. I see that I have 2 jobs, sincerely. One job is to make sure that I'm being responsive to the people in my district of helping make sure government's working for them. And then second is my job in Albany, where I actually view myself as representing almost 20 million New Yorkers. It doesn't matter where they live. And you're looking at the bigger picture public policy issues, which, to be honest, can be pretty overwhelming at this moment in history.
Terrible.
So it's 2 different jobs, and I take both of them very seriously. So it does take a lot of time.
And do you think people really understand the process of government?
It varies. So no, the majority of people don't. And frankly, if you're in an elected office, and you know this, you were a city councilwoman, that people are coming to you and say, well, what about this? And you have to explain, well, actually, that's the federal government. So I can direct you to the right federal person, but that's not city government. Or, oh no, that's the state government. So my philosophy is if somebody comes to me with an issue, whether it's federal, state, or city, I'm going to work with them to see if I can help. I don't just say, oh, go call a federal person.
Right.
I'll say, well, I'll call the federal person for you and try to make sure that you get together with them or the city person.
I mean, I want them to understand also how important it is that they advocate, that they be there, and that they're really part of the political process.
Well,
things get moved by advocates.
Exactly. And when people say my vote doesn't count, I'm like, oh, really? You don't think elections have consequences? I mean, I spent the last year since November with the last presidential election trying to explain to people why everything's falling apart and I'm not going to be able to fix it. And I look at them and I go, elections have consequences. The wrong people won, and now we're really in the thick of it. So don't think you don't count, because the bad guys show up and vote no matter what, and the bad guys will show up and take those jobs no matter what. So the good guys better understand how crucial it is.
It's very complicated, and I think that they don't totally understand. Do you think Mamdani's election is going to help people understand a little bit more?
I think so. Look at the turnout he got from young people and first-time voters. And even, with all due respect, people who really didn't like him and were so motivated, they came out and voted against him. But it was the reflection of their choosing to be involved, even though I supported Mamdani and think that some of the things that people are concerned about with him aren't really things to worry about. Although you should always worry about who are your executives, frankly, because they have so much power. Mayors, governors, presidents have so much power in the structure of government that nobody should ever get a walk. No one should ever think that you don't have the right to challenge them or their decisions and hold them accountable, because that's the only way you keep, I think, democracy honest.
And it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard.
Do you think that he's going to be able to accomplish some of these things?
I hope so. And what's interesting is, even though everyone he's making so many promises, he was really sort of focused on 3 big things: That's what I kept hearing him say. And one was universal child care. There's no one who's ever had a child involved in their lives at all who doesn't understand. If you don't have safe, affordable, locally available child care, everything else is going to fall apart at some point in time. You're not going to be able to keep your job. Somebody's going to get sick, and one of you is going to have to give up your job. So yes, I think universal child care is clearly an important goal for this state. We were already heading there over the last few years. We lost some federal money, so we had to slow ourselves down. But the mayor of New York City pushing hard for the state of New York to work with him to get us universal child care, which, by the way, it will need to be statewide, not just New York City, I think is a excellent goal that matters to so many people. He's talking about wanting to have free buses. Well, I think everybody would love cheaper mass transit or even free mass transit. I have to look at it from the perspective as a finance chair. Yeah, but we have to make sure we have mass transit. We have to make sure that the buses can actually run, the subways can run, and they are meeting 21st century expectations, because when I look around the country, I see almost every mass transit system in the country on the verge of bankruptcy, except New York's. We have the only one that's actually financially stable, and yes, I would love to be able to give everyone free everything. I just don't know how we could do that, other than we can do a bunch of things that we're doing and expand on those. For example, we of course have half fare for older New Yorkers and disabled New Yorkers, which makes our already least expensive mass transit system in the country only half the cost, so that's huge. We have the lower cost, low-income people's half fare program, which also is really helping lowest income New Yorkers with less costs. And we of course have the school children being able to use the mass transit system free.
Right.
So when people go, how do we move to a free system? Well, the truth is we already have a significantly discounted system with a bunch of free availability. So, you know, the price tag is big, and I certainly don't think we could do that right away. But, you know, everything's pendulum swings, including government changes. So I don't know anyone who thinks that's an offensive proposal to try to make mass transit cheaper. Of course we want to make mass transit cheaper, particularly for those who most need the help. I just don't know that we can get there all in one leap on that. You know, and he's talking a lot about making sure there's more equality in our city, more affordable housing. Who's not been talking about affordable housing and more equity and equality forever? So people say he's such a radical. I'm not sure what any of those proposals are when you define them as radical.
Right. When you really add it all up,
yep.
It's not that radical.
No,
it's
it really is
understanding.
Not. Exactly. And then some people have this reaction to the word socialist. And first off, everybody kept saying, well, it's like communist. I go, no, actually, look it up. It's not the same political ideology. Second, it's democratic socialist. If you check, almost every European nation that has been an ally of the United States since World War II ended has been democratic socialists. It's not particularly radical. It's what an awful lot of the world functions under as a model. And I just can't lose sleep at night thinking somebody who calls themselves a democratic socialist is now my mayor. It's fine with me.
Don't you have to laugh when you read about Trump investing in companies whose products we buy in the country? I mean, that's Wall Street's version of socialism? I don't know.
Well, that's true. I mean, the concept that we think we have a pure capitalist system with no government role or intervention is, of course, absurd.
And Trump is proving
exactly
that we really don't. It's so incredible.
But we don't. And it's, you know what matters is, can government work more effectively for people? Not what we call people or label things. You know, labels are usually wrong because they're so overly simplistic. And that's not what people talk to me about as their elected official. They want to know, how come we can't get this done? Or why did this work? Or why can't we try it? It's not what they call the titles attached to anyone.
And it's a natural movement that he would come because the disparity between income levels is so great, so great. You wonder why people what do they need all that money for?
We've gone off the rails over a very long period of time in this country, but it's gotten to such extremes where you can name a handful of people who basically control all the money. It's not like a lot of the money, all of the money. And why is that actually good for anyone else? It's not.
It's not.
And you're right, they can't use it. You know, I'm pretty sure, I don't know for sure, we don't get to use it or take it with us. So what are we doing, right?
That's a great
And maybe
concept.
Mr. Musk, he will take it to go to Mars and he will live forever and good, he should go to Mars.
Right.
Take his money and leave, that's fine.
So, but you love what you're doing.
You know, it's really hard, as we've talked about, and it's draining, and I'm getting older, but it's so rewarding when something goes right. You lose more than you win, always. But when something goes right, even if nobody knows I had anything to do with it, I can sit there and go, you know, I had this win today, and I think it's going to affect 10 million people. And how many jobs could you have in life where you can say that?
Yeah.
Right, that you can have it, you can make a difference in the
you
lives of millions of people.
You were born with the object of the common good, that you wanted to help people. Now, I don't know if people are born that way anymore.
I think
or
people
if-
are born lots of
Or
different
they may be
ways.
born that way,
Yes.
but then somehow we don't think about the common good that much, except that's what Mamdani is doing.
Exactly. And he's motivating lots of people to pick up and say, this stuff's important and I need to play a role in it. So I find him to be very, very important when talking about how do we convince the next generations that they got to get in there. I mean, I go and I talk to a number of high school classes recently, and I usually start off by saying, okay, kids, my generation screwed up a bunch of things, and you're going to have to fix them. And they look at me as like, what do you mean it's my responsibility? I go, well, I'm going to be gone. So even if I'm trying to do the right things, like we've really messed up the environment. So you want clean air, clean water, a planet to live on, you're going to have to do a whole lot better than we're doing. And, you know, you're lucky that you're going to this great school that you love. But if we don't make sure we have good education for everybody, then guess what? You're going to have bigger problems as you get older because other people won't be able to get the jobs and the opportunities that you luckily have. So you have to make sure that we've got a society that's ensuring people have access to good education, access to good health care, a functioning mass transit system, and environment. I am obsessed with sort of keeping the remainder of my life focused on what we do to undo the damage as much as we can.
You were very opposed to the recent approval of the pipeline.
Oh, I thought it was ridiculous to be building another fracked gas pipeline.
Why did we do that?
I think it's to some degree a deal with the President of the United States. The sense is that we got to do some things we needed to do that he would leave us alone on as long as he got his pipeline. Nonetheless, it's billions of dollars that we'll be paying off for the next 50 years. It's more fracked gas coming through into our system. We did a moratorium not allowing fracking of gas in New York State, I think over a decade ago now. And now we're going to let it come through from Pennsylvania to come into our system and our environment.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
So let's one more thing with New York City. Is there any way that we can raise revenue just in New York City?
The only tax the city of New York controls for itself is its property tax. And frankly,
that is not total control.
No, it's not total control. And also, we have a pretty high property tax level. And so when you talk about affordability, which is crucial also for our future, you have to ask the question, who is paying what taxes? And is that adding to unfair taxation, or is that just a desperation
And there
move to get
again,
new
wealthy
revenue?
people are not paying.
No, Property tax is not a significant percentage of your taxes if you are, higher income. Now, even there, yes, Albany can pass different taxes for New York City than it does for the rest of the state. But again, Albany is a legislature made up of almost 60% not being from New York City. So why do upstate legislators want to do things specifically for New York City that doesn't help their communities and may politically get them into a lot of trouble? People in elected office generally come with the attitude that they don't want to raise taxes because somebody will be mad at them if they raise taxes. Although I also would argue lots of people will be mad at you if you don't provide the public services they need, right? Right? So if they don't have schools, if they don't have health care, if they don't have clean air and clean water, they're going to be pissed about that too.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people who would like to see more taxes.
Yes.
Do people know that you were the first director of the food bank?
Very few at this point, because that was 41 years ago, talking about time frame. So I came to New York City in 1983 from the Midwest. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey. Then I went to the Midwest. I started working at the Cleveland, Ohio Food Bank. I was coming back here to New York where I wanted to make my home, and my family was already here. And someone called me and said, "You know what food banks are?" I said, "Well, I work for one." They go, "Well, we've tried and we've not been able to get one started in New York City. There have been 3 attempts that have failed. So will you come and start a food bank for us?" And I was, I think, 24 years old, and I said, "I can give it a try. I have no idea whether I could do it, but I'll give it a shot." So this amazing woman named Kathy Goldman reached out to me and asked me to give it a try. And I said, "I'll try." And I moved to New York City, and there she was, the chair of the board of this yet to exist not-for-profit. And I started up in the South Bronx in Hunts Point. We got Carol Bellamy. She got us the money to cover the cost for a warehouse in the Bronx. I don't think we had another dime to our name at the beginning. And everyone said, "Okay, give it a shot, Liz." And I just kept ad-libbing as I learned what to do. And we got the food bank started. And it's now, for a long time now, been the largest food bank in the country.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you joined Community Food Resource.
That's right. That was Kathy's organization.
Which was a marvelous organization.
Yes, it was. And it was funny because I didn't really want to stay in a warehouse in the South Bronx. I wanted to do public policy. And so Kathy Goldman said, "When you're ready, you'll just come and work with me." And I said, "What will be my job?" She said, "You'll figure it out." I said, she goes, "Look, we're going to have to raise you, you'll have to raise your own salary, but we'll figure it out." And so I remember it was January 1986. I show up to her office. She's gone somewhere, but she left me a card, a box of business cards on a desk saying, "Liz Krueger, public policy analyst."
Oh, God.
And I was like, "What's this?" And they said, "Apparently that's your job description." And I never got a job description beyond that. And I stayed there, like almost 20 years. And we went from an organization that was 5 people to over 100 people. We kept expanding into new things involving food and hunger, eviction prevention, public access to government benefits, all kinds of programs. And Kathy's view was, got a good idea? Run with it. Let's see what we can do.
So in a way, you operated a public food market,
Well, we did lots of things.
which
yes.
was another Mamdani thing.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah.
And in fact, the people who I worked with at that time, who then went off later on to run something called New York City Food Advocates,
Right.
Liz Ackles, who worked with me then,
Right.
I had reached out and I said, "So Mamdani wants public supermarkets." She goes, "I know, we've been doing some research on that and giving it to him."
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's a logical person. I mean, it's not a phenomenal thing from nowhere.
He has a vision for our city, safe communities, quality education, jobs that pay people living wages, child care for their children, equal protections under our laws, pretty much a list of things that most New Yorkers would go, yeah, I can get behind that. And then you talk to him about how he pictures us getting from step to step to step. And I think there are two things that show me how smart he is. One, he actually says, well, I've talked to X, Y, and Z, and here's their suggestions. And he's finding really smart people to talk to. That's my key to life. I know I'm not that smart. I just know how to find smart people. So other people who know how to find smart people are my kind of people. Second, he's perfectly willing to admit, I don't have the answer. I might have made a mistake. I'm going to need to do better there. And that shouldn't be so shocking for people in elected office. But in this day and age, it's actually shocking to hear elected officials being willing to admit, I don't have the answer, and maybe I misspoke, and maybe I need to rethink that. I also think those are my kind of people. Because I get up in the morning and know I'm going to make at least 5 mistakes a day. And my staff all know their job is to try to stop me from making mistakes before I make them. And of course, that's almost impossible. So then they have to help me figure out how I undo the mistakes. And so the illusion that there's some perfect people out there with all the answers and all the answers first day out of the box, that's not real. So I like real people, and I feel like he's a real person that way. I really do think we need new generations of people to be coming up and saying, these are jobs that I want, and I feel like I can do something good with.
So we should be encouraging young people
Oh, yes.
and older people to retire.
And I'm not saying everybody older should retire. I mean, objectively, by that standard, I should be
I was
gone.
going to say, you have to be careful.
Well, except, you know what? I think it's okay. I mean, I do say maybe it's time, and I have lots of really talented young people that I know and people who are involved in my district, and I'll say, well, aren't one of you just going to take me out now? And so far they all go, no, we really like you, and we think you're doing a good job, so we don't want to take you out. We're not saying we don't want your job.
Yeah.
We're just saying we don't want you to get out just because we want your job.
Right.
And I think there is a difference. So, you know, I just had my 68th birthday last week, 2 weeks ago. So I'm no kid.
68.
68. Yes, indeed.
That's unbelievable.
So I know that I'm no kid, but I also feel like I've had a lot of experience that is valuable, including to younger people who are moving into government. I have a lot of newer, younger Senate colleagues, and they're great. And they have great ideas and energy and goals. And sometimes they'll come to me and say, but how do I get from my energy and goals to actually getting something done? They go, you seem to understand how to do that. I go, well, a lot of it's practice. I've been doing this a lot of years now. So I'm happy to share information, and I'm happy to work with people. And so I really enjoy working with the new energetic people, and respect so much that they want to do that. So even when, you know, here we are in a democratic city, right, by and large. And so right now we've got half of Manhattan running for an open congressional seat. Lots of friends running for one seat. And people go, well, what do? You have lots of people you know and respect running. I go, that should be my worst problem in life. The problem is you look at an election, you look at who's running, and you go, oh my God, I couldn't support any of those people. That's my fear, that good people won't run for these seats.
Yeah.
I don't worry at all about them running against each other.
Right.
There'll be some, you know, some wounds to be licked, you know, healed afterwards. But serious people with good ideas who believe in government and public policy competing for these jobs is not a problem. It's a victory.
Right. It is. It's a very incredible kind of thing. But you were also lucky in that the Finance Committee is always changing.
That's
I mean,
true.
It isn't as if you did the same thing.
No, you actually learn a bit about everything. That's why I decided to get involved with the Finance Committee. When I went to the Senate, well, first I was drafted, but never mind that. So then I was drafted, I went in, I was trying to shift it from Republican to Democratic. That took like 17 years because the first time we had really bad Democrats when we won and we had to get rid of them. So it took a long time. But I saw right away, every major decision in government is affected by, is there the money to pay for it, or how are you going to get the money? So it didn't matter whether I was talking about homeless policy or older adults or the environment or mass transit. You had to get your ducks in a row about how much was something going to cost, could you afford it, what would you have to cut instead? And so I knew right away I wanted to learn the financing of government, because that would mean I could have my hand in all these big picture issues that I cared about.
Well, you have the intuitive sense of a wonderful public policy believer in people and how to do it.
Yeah.
You've been a great public servant.
Thank you so much.
And I'm very proud to have had you on the program and to know you.
But you know what? You were one of my mentors, because you were in the city council and I was lobbying the city council
Right.
on all kinds of important issues. A lot of
Thank you.
people took a look at what Ronnie Eldridge was doing many, many years ago and said, yeah, that's the way we should approach
That's lovely
this.
to know I had a place in history. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
CUNY TV now has an app. Downloading the app will let you watch any show, including mine, at your convenience.